The poor dad would say, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
The rich dad would say, how can I afford it? The poor dad would say, the reason I'm not rich is because I have kids. The rich dad would say, the reason I must be rich is because I have kids.
Most people want everyone else in the world to change but themselves. Let me tell you, it's easier to change yourself than everyone else. That hit me, you know.
An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. The liability is something that takes money out of your pocket.
There's risk in everything. People think a job is secure. It's a type of security, but you saw the recession when layoffs.
Welcome back to The Power of Pages, where we read one book a month. I go by Ty.
Yes, I go by Mr. Fly.
This month we have read, or the previous month we have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was selected by Chris.
Yep.
Firstly, why did you pick this book?
This book was recommended to me a long time ago before I went uni by someone that I met somewhere I used to work. I used to work in the gym. One of the PTs, we used to have conversations. Obviously, he used to work for himself. I explained my ambitions of what I want to do. He was quite a bit older than me. And he was like, oh, you should read this book. And he was like, it's the best book ever, you know. So he recommended it. I didn't actually read it straight away. But since then, I've read it like, this might be the third or fourth time I've read it. I think, looking back on this book now, a lot of the opinions that I hold now are opinions that, well, actually, I think they were formed from reading this book. So yeah, it's that's why I picked it. I thought it's a good book.
Okay, wicked. Well, yeah, first thoughts. Good book, classic.
Yep.
I've also read this book many, many years ago. It's probably one of the first books I read.
Okay.
Probably in the first 10, somewhere in the first 10.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the whole book.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago that I read it. But I do remember key points from it, which have stuck with me today. And I think it subconsciously had an impact on me over the years. Definitely when it comes to like maybe my spending.
Yeah.
On different purchases and things like that. So we'll get into the messages. But who is this book for?
Boy, in a word, this book's for capitalists. That's what I think is capitalist, man. Like, and I say that in a way where he is definitely talking to people that are interested in making money, that want to make money and use that money wisely and growth and all that kind of stuff. So he doesn't use the word growth in it, but it's definitely about, you know, he talks about jobs. A job is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. So he talks about, it's like he's anti-work, I think he's anti-job, but again he's quite controversial. We'll get into that in a bit, but it's like, I think it's for people that have an interest in making money and an interest in making that money work for them. I think. What do you think?
I think it's for anyone trying to grow their finances that is looking at investing or just trying to grow their finances, really. So I think most people could benefit from this book. If you're someone who doesn't care about growing your finances, then I don't think the book is for you. But it's funny actually, because I think for some people, this, especially the start of the book, could be quite triggering.
How so?
So like he's very anti-job.
Yeah.
He's anti-mortgage.
But he's intensely controversial.
Yeah.
Even like from the title.
Yeah.
Anti-mortgage?
Well,
anti-mortgage.
No, not anti-mortgage. He's anti-mortgage if you've just bought a house and you're living in it.
So he's anti-liability.
Yeah.
It's not actually the mortgage. He's anti-liability.
Yeah.
Because and we'll get into that in a little bit, like what he calls an asset and what he calls a liability. So yes.
But, so when I say I think people might be triggered, say for example, you're working, you're employed, you've got a house and you're paying off your mortgage. This book could potentially trigger you and think, rah, I'm in a 25-year mortgage now, and he's basically poo-pooing that. Do you get what I mean?
I mean, it's a choice. If you want to get triggered by that.
Yeah, but...
Do you know what I mean? But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's going to rub people up the wrong way, basically.
Yeah,
Fair enough. But you could also, someone else could look and be like, oh, wow, he just showed me something, just gave me some game. Yeah. How can I leverage this liability and turn it into an asset? Yeah. In theory. So, yeah, no, I think so. Like, I actually wanted, that's why, because like I said, we both had this book for a long time. I actually wanted to debate this book. Like, I wanted to do it. That's why I thought, you know what, I've always, it's always been on my list to let's review this, because I want to review this. So let's go into it, man. Let's get in there. Yeah, cool. Anything you want to start with? No, I mean, let's just give a bit of background maybe to Robert Kiyosaki. I hope I pronounced that right. I think now, though, to be fair, him now, the book is a classic. He's written other books that I've read. He's done Rich Dad Poor Dad 2, The Cash Flow Quadrant. He's done one on investing that I've part read, I haven't finished it. He's written other books as well. He actually wrote a book of Donald Trump.
Yeah, he mentions him in the book as well, like as the idol.
They're friends. The book is called Why We Want You to Be Rich, and I've read it. Don't waste your time. Anyway, back to this. So yeah, he's, I forget where he's from, Hawaii. He's from Hawaii. He was from quite a good area, but his family was poor. His dad was a teacher. His biological father was a teacher, worked for like a government job, and he refers to him in the book as his poor dad. Even that is controversial in itself. But it's the way he's using the word poor and rich, as you'll see through the language he uses is like, I don't think he means it literally. Yeah. And then his rich dad was his friend's dad. So I think it all triggered, they didn't get invited to a party because it was only for the rich people. And then his friend's dad owned a business, and he took them in and said, all right, I'll teach you guys how to make money and use money, and I'll teach you how, and I'll basically mentor you in finance, I guess, through working for them. And the main of the key things was he told them he'll work for them, they can work for him, but he's not paying them. So he didn't pay them. Pay them little. Yeah, or pay them. Yeah. Sorry, pay them little. So that was kind of the background to it, and from there, he just evolved and learned and listened. And I guess the good thing is he had the comparison of his biological dad, his poor dad, that was working, and we'll get into the assets and liabilities and all that kind of stuff. And then he had the example of his rich dad that worked for himself, had employees, had a lot of wisdom, knew how to leverage finances, and he kind of was in the middle, and he lent into more of his rich dad.
I mean, I think the poor and the rich side, when he refers to that, I think he's more referring to like the mindset, the poor mindset, the rich mindset, because his dad's was a teacher. His actual dad was a teacher. He was still earning a wage, but at the end of each month, he was still struggling financially. Where if he had a rich mindset, he could have actually leveraged his income, etc. So I think financial education. So I think it's more the mindset that he refers to. But the start of the book, man, had me gassed, because like the stories in it, I was even laughing at times, because he talks about the when he got them to work. So the rich dad got the two children to work, Robert Kiyosaki being one of them and his friend being the other, and he paid them 10 cents a day or an hour, I can't remember exactly. And after 3 weeks, Robert Kiyosaki went and he basically was saying this is ridiculous, it's slave labor, I need a wage increase. And the rich dad said, I expected you to do this. That's exactly what the workers say. They're always complaining, but never actually taking action or accountability of how they can increase their income. So then he's like, all right, you're going to work again, but I think he did it for free. I might be getting the story mixed up. He's like, all right, cool, we're going to do this. See what lessons you learn while working. Again, working, come back, complaining. It's like, you're just being the people. He spoke to his dad. No, did he speak to his brother? He spoke to his poor dad, and his poor dad said, no, you need to quit. You've got rights and all that. Yeah, you've got rights. And basically, the rich dad was teaching him a lesson. It was a very harsh lesson. Listen, bro, but keep going, because I've got it here. So keep going. But he's like, most people will work and just live in this and complain, but actually not take action and do anything about it. So he said, I can employ you. He's like, I can pay you more. And then he bribed them. Actually, I'll pay you, I think I got it here. All right, I'll pay you 25 cents actually instead. How about $1? How about $2? How about $5?
Per hour, this is per hour.
Per hour. He's like, it's not about what I pay you. That's not the point of it. It's about how you leverage your mind to create more wealth. So let me let you come in there.
Nah, bro, that was it. So that whole sequence, he was testing them with the pay rise option. He was testing them to see, because they say everyone's got a number, $1 an hour, $2, and this was, I forget what years this was, but this was a long time ago. So imagine the inflation on that. But I'll just say the whole thing. So Rich Dad said, you best change your point of view this when they were angry at him. So, and as well, just to add salt to the wound, he made them wait for like 2 or 3 hours outside the room before he spoke to them. Said, you best change your point of view. Stop blaming me and thinking I'm the problem. If you think I'm the problem, then you have to change me. If you realize that you are the problem, then you can change yourself, learn something and grow wiser. This is the key. You say about power of pages, this is the power of the page. I think one of them, there's a few. Most people want everyone else in the world to change but themselves. Let me tell you, it's easier to change yourself than everyone else. That hit me, you know.
Yeah.
Because I had a situation and I was angry at the other person. And I was like, the person's like this, like that, like that, like that. Then literally when I read that, I said, no, it's true. I can't change anyone.
Yeah.
I cannot change a person. I can only change myself.
Yeah.
And he even says here, be an observer, not a reactor to your emotions. So I had to actually sit back and think. And it's more than money, you know. This is more than money. This is deeper than money. So it's like, this wasn't even a financial situation.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, how am I going to change myself? What do I need to change myself? I've done that. I've made those changes, and it's now a positive situation as opposed to a negative. So yeah, man, that was a deep chapter, man.
Yeah.
That was a deep chapter. So what he's saying in relation to the work is like, he challenged them to say, okay, you're trying to change. He's the system at that point.
Yeah.
He's the system. All right, I'll give you money or whatever. I'm in charge. That led them on to now, I think they opened a comic book store.
Yeah.
And what was good with that, which was a really good idea, is they had a library, they had a comic book library. We're in a library right now.
This was sick.
North Kent Library, big up North Kent Library.
Yeah.
They had their own library, it was a comic book library, so they would just, they would take old books, old libraries that weren't given away, and then the kids would just come in and rent read a book in the library, pay to enter.
But I've got it here.
Go for it.
I've got it here, man, because this was sick. This is like how they were using their mind creatively to earn an income.
Yes, and they wouldn't have done that if they weren't forced to if they weren't put in a position to do that.
So through some means or another, they worked at a library for free. But the library had old books.
It was a shop. It was a
shop. Yeah, shop. Sorry. Yeah, the shop had old books, and the conditions of the books, the lady said, you can have some of the old books, but you can't sell them. So they were like, okay, well, let's open up a library. So in one of their basements, they decided to open up a library, get these loads of books, and they charged the local kids to come in after school between like 4 and 6 to come and read these books. They had to pay like 10 cents to come in or whatever, and read the books, and it was popping off every day. And then they employed one of their sisters to run the library. So all they were doing was just facilitating it. So they were already thinking, rah, like, I've gone out, I've done something for free, and I've managed to leverage that to a point where I'm earning the income. But then a fight broke out in the comic book store between like school kids or something, which then one of the dads was like, all right, just shut it down. So they shut it down. But the message was they started to think creatively.
He said here, by not getting paid for our work at the store, we were forced to use our imaginations to identify an opportunity to make money. You know what I mean? So anyway, it's deep, man. Look, man.
It's sick.
You can't give them the breakdowns of every chapter, you know?
No,
if you think that was interesting to me at the time, reading this again was like, I was really impressed with that idea. Like, it's such a smart idea. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, good chapter.
We won't dive into it too much, but they started making fake coins as well.
Oh yeah.
That had me laughing.
Money laundering.
Yeah, money laundering. But
counterfeit money.
Counterfeit money, But yeah, we won't dive into that too much. Read the book. It's a great one. Links in the description for all of our books. I also wanted to just quickly touch on, to go back, the difference between the mindsets of the rich dad and the poor dad.
Okay.
So the poor dad would say, I can't afford it. The rich dad would say, how can I afford it? The poor dad would say, the reason I'm not rich is because I have kids. The rich dad would say, the reason I must be rich is because I have kids. The poor dad, don't take risks with money. The rich dad, manage risk. So there was loads more. There were just a few that I wrote down. But it's just perspective and mindset shift.
And language is important.
And language, vocabulary, so important. You know?
That's your internal voice.
And I love that one. I can't afford it, or I can't do this, I can't do that. No, that's the wrong way to look at it. How can I do this? How can I do that? You know, then your brain starts to work. Actually, how can I do it? So this book, other than financial education, it actually had some mindset gems in there, which, yeah, man, love them.
No, it's deep, man. And I think once you ask the right questions, you'll then get the right answers. So anyway, you broke that down sick. What was really important, there was a very good thread of education through this book, financial education, because you've heard the saying, like, a fool and his money are very quickly separated or something like that. And it's like, when I look back at experiences, either whether it's mine or people around me, some people, you could give them £1 million today and they will be broke by the end of the month if they do not have the financial education. That is a fact. I've seen it in living proof.
Yeah.
No, I've seen it in living proof. So some people will have minimal, but they have good financial education, and that doesn't really cost much, especially now in today's world online. Do you know what I mean? So, and they will leverage that and improve their life and improve themselves and make wise decisions, smart decisions, patient decisions, intelligent decisions, sensible decisions, and they will then increase their finances.
Yeah.
You could literally give 2 people £1 million, and those two types, let's say a rich person and a poor person, but we're talking about mental richness, right? Intelligence. So, or financial intelligence and financial education here. Someone who's financially educated, if you give them £1 million, they're gone clear. Someone who's not financially educated, you give them £1 million, they will be broke within 30 days. I would know that for a fact. You've seen it on the lottery winners, you've seen it. There's so many examples of this. People think that money will solve your problem, and that's why the education is the important thing. Money will actually make your problems worse if you don't know how to use it. You'll get into more debt. You'll get into, people will now start attracting you, and then that will be compounded by when you've got nothing left. Trust me.
I think one of the things that I wanted to touch on is basically, you mentioned financial education, people not understanding. So I wanted to touch on the assets and the liabilities.
We have to.
Because we sometimes think things are assets, but they're actually liabilities. When Robert Kiyosaki breaks it down, in the simplest form of the difference between an asset and a liability. And I love how simple this. I love how simple this phrase is.
Do you know how simple it is? Yeah, it's so simple that people are not even going to take it seriously.
Take it seriously?
No.
Yeah. Because.
No.
Okay. Anyway, let's say an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket.
Can you give us an example, please?
An asset would be a business that generates income, or stocks and shares that is continuously bringing money in, or intellectual property. Maybe you've got a YouTube channel and you've created a video, and that video keeps bringing in income. These are all assets. A liability, the biggest one for me is a car. Depending. Depending on what you're doing with your car. If you're an Uber driver, a car is an asset because you're using that car to make money, right?
Or a delivery driver.
Or a delivery driver or whatever. But if your car is costing you money, then it's a liability. I'm very aware that my car is a liability, but I have it for convenience. And it's okay, I think, it's okay to have some liabilities.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because you obviously use your car for business
I do.
Sometimes. So in those moments, is your car a liability or an asset?
No. So is it either an asset or in those moments? In those moments, it's an asset. So for example, actually, I had a workshop delivered a workshop in Southampton. I drove there. So otherwise I would have had to get the train. In that moment, it was an asset. So in some scenarios, it's fluid a bit. So it's a bit, as a general rule. But as a general rule, like if I was to get a really expensive car, for me that would be a liability. Even this month or the last month, I had my parking permit, my MOT, my tax, all of that, just taking money out, back. I'm like, it hits you. I'm like, this, but the car's not bringing in money. So, in the simplest form, an asset, it's money, something that puts money in your pocket. A liability takes it out. And this is where I wanted to touch on house. Because most people think a house is an asset. Which it can be.
I know. Go on. Carry on.
Yeah, but if you're forced and you're stuck in that mortgage, and you're having to pay out every month, and you're stuck there, then that's taking money out of your pocket every month.
Yep. I'm going to challenge it because obviously I agree with you, but just want to challenge it.
Okay.
Because someone could argue that, okay, I'm getting my interest, there's equity in the house.
Yeah.
So even though I'm not renting the house out or whatever, the value of the house is going up, X, Y, Z. So what would you say to that?
Actually, this was separate to the book. The YouTube algorithm got me, and the video come up similar to about why someone hasn't bought a house. They're a multi-millionaire anyway. And when you look at the maths and do the maths calculations, your mortgage, obviously you're paying interest on that. So say you buy a house for 300,000. You're not paying 300,000 for the house. You're paying whatever it is
plus the interest.
Plus the interest. So is your house going up in value more than that interest? In some cases, it might. In many cases, it might not. So if you do the maths, it can be an asset. Providing you then sell your house.
So no, I agree with you. The thing is, it's like, because you have to try, like you said, people get triggered, but you have to push back on these things.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? But it's like, I think until that moment you sell that house, or you kind of realize the gains, it's a liability until that moment. But I mean, it's semantics.
But I think as well, you could say it's a liability, but then depending on what you want from life, this is where I challenge it. It's not a liability. Because it could be a place where you're growing your family, and your family are asset to you. It might not be a financial asset, but they're emotional.
But like
assets.
I said, capitalists, bro.
Yeah.
Capitalists ain't caring about that stuff. But I'm with you.
So, like, having a mortgage is not just about the money. It's not just about growing your wealth. Having a mortgage, you've got a stable place, you've got a house, you can grow your family. You know, no landlord's kicking you out. There's loads of benefits to it.
I have this conversation with my wife quite often.
Okay.
I don't want to go too much into property, but because you can have all that without having a mortgage, or you can have all that without living in the house you own. Everything that's besides the land, the risk of the landlord. Everything else you said you can actually have in a house. You could own a house, but not necessarily live in the house. And you could rent. But I don't want. You know what I mean? That's maybe a conversation for another time. Maybe we'll do a book on that. Anyway, so
that's how he defines a house as an asset.
He
defines a house or real estate, because he's very heavily invested in real estate. If you're renting it out, or doing it up and flipping it, whatever, that's how he defines houses as an asset. So.
That's deep, man. It's deep. I think like asset liability, this again, going back to like my opinions being influenced, or my mindset being influenced. I obviously over a year ago, obviously I got rid of my car. And I just have a bike. And I was like, because I was gonna get a nice car. I mean, we spoke about this. And I was like, man. I looked how much it's gonna cost. I thought, I can afford it, but what for? Do I need it? So I kind of looked at it in that sense. I was like, you know what? I don't actually need a car. I actually don't in my life. I live in London, public transport it's not as convenient as I'd like, don't get me twisted. But, so, when I read this, I was like, there's something, maybe this somehow influenced that decision. Because it was quite, anyway. So like, I agree with this asset and liability. Simple. If it's an asset, it brings money to me. It could be anything. If it's a liability, it's something that takes money away. Simple.
Very simple. I mean, just to go on it, Robert, the author's assets, he's got businesses that do not require his presence, stocks, bonds, real estate that generates incomes, royalties from intellectual property, and anything that produces income or appreciates. So it could even be like, some watch dealers, for example, a nice watch, they appreciate in value. I don't, I'm not a watch guy, I don't know, but
some bag, my friend told me yesterday, she bought a bag, and the bag's worth more now than.
So there are some things that we're probably not aware of that can go up.
Just finally on that, so what he said is the rich, and again I think he's talking more about mentality as opposed to physically, like as opposed to wealth wise. But the rich buy assets, the poor only have expenses, the middle class buy liabilities that they think are assets, car, house, things like that. So it's interesting, man. I think this book, depending on your position, it will challenge your like if you're in that middle class section, and if you don't agree with these things, maybe you should read the book because it will challenge your opinions on things.
Yeah. I mean, the book has got way more in it than just finances. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was chapter 7, overcoming obstacles, because he says there are 5 main reasons why financially literate people may still not develop abundant asset columns. And they are 1, fear; 2, cynicism; 3, laziness; 4, bad habits; and 5, arrogance. And I wanted to talk about this specific example because I'm sure we've been there, or maybe not, or we've seen people that do this. And he was talking to one of his friends, and his friend had a deal that had come up, some kind of, let me look at my note, some kind of investment opportunity. And this person asks their neighbor, "Oh, what do you think?
Oh my goodness,
What do you think about this investment opportunity?"
It's even worse now.
And their neighbor said to them, "Oh, it's a bit risky." So they didn't invest. If he had invested in that time, it would have doubled. Now, it doesn't mean just go and invest your money willy-nilly. No. But don't ask your neighbor who knows nothing about this investment opportunity if it's a good investment opportunity. Speak to a financial advisor.
Education.
Speak to someone who knows. But we let other people's fear, who don't even know the subject, stop us from doing things. And yeah, man, I mean,
it's projection. It's a projection because that neighbor, I mean, the neighbor was asked for his opinion. He gave his opinion. Again, if you kind of, I know if I've got a question about something, I'll speak to someone that's close to an expert, if not an expert, regardless of what it is. Do you see what I mean? You don't just go and ask a random person. You might want to get their opinion just to see what they kind of read the temperature of what people are thinking. But if it's an investment for you, unless that guy's an investment broker or he's a banker or he works in finance or something, what would he know? But maybe as well, sometimes people are looking for a reason to not. Maybe he was already scared. And he didn't really want to do it, so he asked his neighbor John, and he's like, "Oh yeah, see, I knew it. It confirmed." It's that bio says that he's confirmed what I thought. So cool. So
So yeah, man. So that comes down to fear. I mean, obviously there's others: laziness, bad habits. I mean, we've got a great book review on Atomic Habits. Check that out. Great.
With the habits, good. Thanks for bringing that one up because he spoke about pay yourself first, which I think is another. Pay yourself first. And this was something I do actually remember this because when I used to work there. I started doing it, and it was like, and basically what he says in a nutshell, pay yourself first, and then you will, don't worry about your bills and all that kind of stuff. Pay yourself first, and then you'll find ways to pay the other bills because you'll be more, those bills are going to be coming for you, so you're going to have to pay them, but you'll always kind of take the L yourself personally, as opposed to passing that L on to whoever it might be, whatever creditor or debtor it is. But then what did he say?
Just to, while you think on that, that hit me, that section. Because I don't think it's something that I do specifically. Maybe sometimes I'm a little bit reserved. And I was like, so for example, at the moment of recording this review, we got Christmas coming up, and I was like, I need to buy Christmas presents, but I also wanted to put some money into ISA. So I'm like, originally before that section, I'm like, let me get Christmas out of the way, then what's left, I'll put in the ISA. And then when I read that, I was like, actually, no. Let me put in what I want for me. Then the rest use for Christmas presents. So it was like, that just flipped it for me. Shift. That was a mind shift, and I was like, yeah, cool, banging.
But this goes back to the assets and liability because if you work with that pay yourself first mantra, you're gonna have to keep your liabilities low. Or you'll be more inclined to keep your liabilities low because you know that, right? You're not going to go and, well, you shouldn't go and be buying stuff and having these liabilities that are going to make that harder for you to achieve.
And when you say pay yourself first, can we just clarify that?
So you get a salary, let's say you get paid £1,000 a month. They say you should be saving at least 10% of your income. That's what they say. So out of that £1,000, you'll just put £100 away. Just put that away first, regardless of whatever bills you got coming out. You'll put
it to something that is income generating.
Invest it. Invest it, really. And that even just means put into a savings account. It doesn't have to be something. Investing is a whole nother thing. But people, what I will say is people now, because of the age we're in now, and especially the crypto age and the NFT age and internet, people think investing it's like, oh,
it's quick.
There's investing, and there's another book we're going to read next year as well. There's investing and there's trading. People think investing is trading, and I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But basically, you'll put your you put that money away. That £100, you just put it away. Then you've got £900 to get through the month, and then as you start to earn more, you just stick with that 10% mantra. So you just tax yourself. Do you know what I mean? So, but the best way to do that, the point I was trying to make was, if you know you're paying yourself first, you're maybe not going to go and get that car that's going to cost you $750 a month on finance, or whatever you might purchase, or spend X amount on your credit card, so you're now when you're in debt on credit card, because you know, right, that's an extra £500, £700 a month after I'm going to save myself, plus I've still got to pay my bills and X, Y, Z. So it should actually make your financial decisions a lot more sensible. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the bad habit. He's saying not paying yourself first is a bad habit.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that, man. And I mean, we're jumping on to the next chapter here, but this was, I like that he provides actionable ways to get started.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, because you could read all this and then it's like, okay, where am I? How do I start? Like, what do I do? And the first point he says is find a reason greater than reality. So it's like, why do you even want to earn more income? Why do you even want to grow your wealth? Like, what is driving you? Is it your family? Is it whatever? You know, whatever it is. So I found that quite
Did you ever realize I find a reason greater than yourself?
Yeah, I think it said reality, or maybe
different
anyway.
Book. But your why. This goes to your why. Like, why are you doing this? Like, you with Love and Life.
Yeah, why?
Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? With what I'm doing, with whatever you're doing, it could be whatever. I was thinking, what was I watching something a little while ago? And there was someone, and he was like an Uber delivery driver or something, Uber Eats driver or delivery or something like that. And he was like, no, he gets a feeling of like, he knows he's going to give people food, people love to eat. So that's his reason. It's not all about, it's about that. Do you know what I mean? That gives you that vim. That's why you wake up in the morning. There's some mornings you wake up and you'll be like, oh man, I can't bother. But you know what you're trying to achieve. It's greater than yourself. Then you go into your family, what you're trying to achieve for your family. You'll always do more for others than you'll do for yourself. It's so yeah. This was it was a 10-step process to develop your God-given powers over which only you have control. That's even that. It's like, this is all you can do. This, there's no one doing this to you. It's you doing this for yourself. Just what I mean? Let's
not go through all the 10. I think, because read the book. But there was a couple. One, choose friends carefully.
The power of association.
Because it's like, bruv, big up, man. You have to big up you. I won't do it too much this episode. I'm sure I've done it enough. But it's like, just little conversations when you surround yourself with positive people, they influence you. They don't put you down. They might, ask you questions. But I'll give you an example. Like, when I first thought about starting a YouTube channel, I must have mentioned it to you. It's like, why not? Like, do you know what I mean? Someone else could have been like, oh yeah, but your face is going to be on screen, or you might get some haters in the comments. Then I might be like, oh, actually, no, I'm not going to do it. But when you're with someone that's like encouraging, do you get what I mean? No,
definitely, man. I mean, look, like the circle. Do you know what I mean? Real recognized rule. Do you know what I'm saying? So whatever you get from me, I'll get from you also. Do you know what I'm saying? So that even goes to my one. So about teach and you shall receive, the power of giving.
Oh, I love that.
So if you want something, like, end of the day, I give you encouragement and I give you your plaudits because you give it back. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and that goes to everyone. So if you want something, you first need to give. With my like journey in this, like going back to even like boxing, I improved in boxing when I started coaching people. It's simple as that. So, and that wasn't even my intention originally, but they say if you want to learn something, is teach it. Do you see what I mean? So this for me, if anyone's going to read just one chapter in this book, I would say read chapter 8 personally, because you can action this. You can sit down with yourself and ask us, what do I believe in? What's my passion, or what's bigger than me? Is it my family? Okay, and then you go, all right, cool. I care about my family. I love my family. Then you go, what choices can I make to make my life better for my family, make family life better? It says here, invest in education. Come on,
let's touch on that, man.
Invest first in education. Like, you only have one mind. You only have one asset. Like I said before, you could give 2 people You see it all the time. How many footballers that are millionaires when their career's over, they go broke within the short space of time. You've seen it. There's so many examples. If you do not know if you do not have the right financial education, you're going to be in problem. And it's not something that before, I think it was maybe reserved for a certain class of people, a certain type of person. But now the information is out there, but are you willing to look for it? Because it's not easy.
Well, let's just go back to the basic principle.
Okay.
If it's taking money out of your pocket, it's a liability. If it's putting money in your pocket, it's an asset. The basic principle. So just think of that, apply it to your life, and it will help you with your finances. And you touched on invest learning, because I want to talk about the story in the book, because I loved this. Again, it made me laugh. There was a lady that interviewed Robert Kiyosaki. She was a news reporter and she wrote good articles. Robert read her articles and was like, "Oh, actually, you're quite a good. Like your articles are good. You're better than me." That's what he was saying. And she was asking him for advice. You know, like, "Oh, you're a best-selling author. Like, you know, I've got my book. No one's taking it. How do I do it?" And he said to her, "It says best-selling author, not best writing author." So he's like, "Look, go on this sales course and learn how to sell. Once you learn how to sell, then you can go and sell your book." She was offended by that. She's like, "Oh, I hate salespeople. I didn't study at university. I didn't do all this career to then become a salesperson." She was completely closed off to the idea of selling. Arrogance. And he was like, "Well, on my book, it says best-selling author. Yeah, not best writing author." So, but she didn't take that message from him. She was refusing to take his advice. And actually, one of the things that made me laugh as well, he's like, "Oh, but in fairness, the next day she wrote up the report about him, and she was still kind. Like she was still fair. She was still fair in her assessment. So, yeah, man, like people will, you know, spend £1,000 on a Louis bag or whatever, but you don't want to spend £1,000 on a course.
Crazy.
It's like,
I think now there's two sides. People are very hypersensitive because there's a lot of stuff on the internet. There's a lot of stuff out there on courses, but you know, you got to take the L, man. Like one of my young people, that's, you know, we had a talk during summer, and he told me something he signed up to online, and in my head I thought, I didn't like it. Like I didn't like it, but at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I'm actually glad that he's put his money down. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? When I look back on my journey, listen, I've spent money on courses and all these sort of things, but you got to pay your dues. That's how you actually learn. So he told me what he was doing. I said, yeah, cool. I said, good luck with it, because at the end of the day as well, maybe it is a good thing. Who am I to tell him? Do you know what I mean? Who am I to tell him? So I said, boom. After a while, it turned out it wasn't what it was supposed to be. So then we went from that. But now it doesn't matter. You put that money into yourself. But
he probably learned. You know, he learned so much,
and he learned how to deal with that situation. Because I gave him my opinion, and I said, look, because I won't go into the specifics, but he had to work his way to get out of the agreement. So he's speaking with them, emails, phone calls, speaking to this person, speaking to that person. He got out of it. That's actually what you paid for. Forget all the other stuff. And he did, and there was value in. There was some value in it. There was some value in it. But you actually, all that experience you've got now decisions, he's making a lot better decisions. If he never had that, so I'm all for investing. It's going to cost you money. People are very like easy to they'll spend money frivolously in certain areas and be very, and I think it goes down to ego a little bit, like, oh, you know, I know everything, what can you tell me? I still go on courses. I'm happy to go on courses, and some are good and some are not good. Doesn't matter. I might learn one thing that changed not one of the courses I went on recently, a couple of years ago now, Eric Thomas. It was all right. He said one thing actually changed my perspective and changed my life. He was like, listen, your job as a CEO, your job as a boss is to be a problem solver. That one thing. That one thing, I was there for hours. That one thing was worth it. Was worth every penny. Because it actually opened, I said, wow, it's true. It's just one problem after another. But now I don't look at it's a problem. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, one of the chapter titles, work to learn, don't work for money. So like they did at the beginning, they went to work for free to learn about how the bookstore worked. Then they used that learning experience to then go and set up their own thing. So yeah, man, this book's got some gems. anything quickly you want to touch on before we come into our star rating?
You know what? You actually, to be fair, the challenge, the chapter 8, I was gonna say, was a chapter that everyone should read.
Yeah.
Then as well, just about risk, because this I think if someone that's reading this may be thinking about setting up a business or making a decision with their money.
Yeah.
Whether that's investing, whether that's setting up a business, or whether it's both, or whether it's buying a house, or whatever it might be. There's always, and in the book he said, there's always risk. So learn to manage the risk instead of avoiding it.
Yeah.
That's facts on facts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's risk in everything. People think a job is secure. It is maybe, and I won't even say it's more secure. It's a type of security.
Yeah.
But you saw the recession when layoffs and like
people get made redundant.
People get made redundant, man. It's happened. It's happened. I've been made redundant.
Yeah.
My mum has been made redundant. Do you know what I'm saying? So maybe that's why I've got a little bit more. That's why I see that it's not as secure as as you would believe. Not like they make you believe. That's the society we live in. It's cool. Yeah. But anyway, I'll leave it there. There's always risk, so learn to manage that risk instead of avoiding it.
So chapter 9, at the end, it was like, still want more?
Yeah.
And really, this was just closing off, and it was like, in fact, I need to say this to the camera. I need to say this to the camera, because it's so simple. It's so simple. Take action.
Yeah.
Someone needs to hear this. Take action. Get off your ass and take action, because action beats inaction.
Facts.
Just do something. We spoke about it before on some other books. Just do something.
Just do it, man. Even big up Limited Time as well, by the way. Big up Limited Time. Do you know what I mean? So check him out, Instagram. But yeah, just do it. Just get out there, get in the game. You'll learn more from being in the game than from sitting on the sidelines every day of the week.
We'll just touch on it quickly.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, his clothing brand, he just took action.
Facts.
He took action. He wanted to create a clothing line. He took action. He's made it. He's made his clothing brand. He's learned so much in the process.
Facts.
He's just done something. Big up.
Yeah, big up.
But yeah, whether that's starting a clothing thing, not necessarily for everyone, but just take action, do something, read books, attend courses, leave your house, go for a walk, whatever.
It starts with the education.
Yeah.
If you're taking action, the first thing you should do, like Princess Trust for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, get the education first.
Yeah.
Because as well, some people get lucky in business.
Yeah.
Some people do get lucky, but then the money's gone, or then the luck runs out. Do you know what I mean? So, but if you've got the education, even if you go broke tomorrow, you still got your asset, you still got your mind. You can still make the money back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, take action. But I believe the first step should be educating yourself.
Yeah, and like you touched on it briefly, the biggest asset, your mind, man. If you can train your mind, teach your mind. Wow. Right, let's go on to our star difficulty rating and star rating. This was your pick.
Yes.
So you go first.
I actually wanted you to go first, man. But it's cool. I know the rules. Don't worry. I don't want to break protocol. Which one?
I've got my number written down anyway, so I'm not changing it. Start with difficulty.
Okay, difficulty. Nah, this is like a 1 for me, because it's a story. It's easier to read. It's semi-biographical, very easy to read, easy language, simple. 1.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too difficult for me. Difficulty rating 1.5. Okay. It wasn't like an easy read, but it was easy enough. I think the chapters as well quite long. So, but they've got subsections. But yeah, there's been easier books. 1.5. It's not super difficult, especially if you're a reader. You'll breeze through it. Star rating.
So, I had a number in my. I had 3 numbers in my head. Yeah. Okay, cool. But I'm not gonna say all 3. I'm just gonna say the final one. Before I checked through my notes, when I read it, I was thinking something. Then I read it. Checked through my notes, was doing my notes, I was like, ooh, I'm going to give it this number. Yeah. But now, off the back of this conversation, I'm going to give it 5. Basically, it's a 5, man. It is. It's a 5. I wasn't going to give it 5 originally, but it's a 5 book for me. It is. It's on there, man. Because, mainly because if I didn't read this book, I don't even know if I'd be who I am today, on a real level. On a real level, because I thought, a lot of the ways I thought it was just the way I think. But I read that at a young age, young enough. Yeah. And, the decisions I made, it's a 5, man. It's a 5.
This conversation made me want to increase my score. Yeah. For sure. And when I think about it, it has had a great impact. And when I was reading it, there were times when I was like, could this book be a 5? And then I think I dropped down, and then I also thought the start of it, the triggering for me, when I was reading it, because he says, what did he say specifically? He's like, the rat race. We didn't even touch on this.
Yeah.
He's always referring to the rat race, like you're in the rat race.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're taking a mick. Like, like that's a bit rude.
Yeah. But again, I think it's his writing style, best-selling.
Yeah.
Controversy sells. I think it's intentional.
No, for sure. So I was like, you know, it's not going to be for everyone. Anyway, I dropped down to a 4.
Okay.
A solid 4.
Yeah.
This is a solid book. Yeah.
This is. I was gonna give it a 4.
Yeah.
But I'm giving it a 5.
Yeah.
So okay.
It's a solid book. So yeah, wicked. Right, next month, or at the time of seeing this video, it is the new year. So happy New Year. And we are kicking off the new year with What Doesn't Kill Us. It's a book about cold water therapy. A year ago today, which I'll touch on in the next book review, I started cold showers, or part of cold showers.
Wow.
So did Mr. Fly.
About a week or 2 after.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
I started in January.
Yeah, well, yeah, anyway, someone bought this for me and we're going to read it. So join us on the journey. The link's in the description box. You've got 30 days to read it until our next review. And just big up, man. Just big up for supporting. If you're a loyal supporter, hit that like, hit the subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace and love.
Take care.